Hello, now we're going to be reading the opposite of dinosaur comics, a webcomic called A Lesson is Learned, but the Damage is Irreversible. I was a big fan of this back when I first discovered it in my teens. Um, I think I started reading it like around here, so I had the fun of reading a few more, and then it ends. And then after 2006, they didn't do anything for 6 years until 2012. And then there's another strip in 2013, and then nothing. So I don't know what's going on. I don't know if this comic will ever come back, if they're just planning on kind of just keeping it going. Here are patrons. There's a shop. I don't know if they ever sold books. The shop looks just like it went to a generic Topatoco page. Anyways, let's look at the comic itself because it's quite amazing. We'll start from the start. The adventure begins. Beautiful, beautiful. This on the moon bitch. Even though I could not recall this exact comic, even though I did not say those exact words, when we were reading Dr. Stone recently, this panel was subconsciously on my mind. But yeah, already we can see some hallmarks of this series, this kind of like rough painted style that's kind of both sketchy and sort of flowy like acrylic paint. This blending of fantasy, of the imagination space into what is depicted. This kind of humor, I think, is quite characteristic of them. Just the sudden vulgarity, kind of lapsing in and out of a normal conversation, but with some kind of strangeness in it. There's some characters established, but you don't really need to worry about that because things go in many different directions very quickly. So here we see the David character back from Italy, experienced a romance with a beautiful villager. Really? It's funny because when I got back, I was talking to my friend Will on IM, and he asked, "Did you experience a tour de verre with a villager?" And I said, "Yes." To watch her from the adjoining window in the villa, pinning pinning her laundry to dye. Chabelle. What? But elegant? No, but that would have been better. Alright, alright. Still quite humble. But the strips start getting kind of crazier. Webcomic with Dale. It's generally being awesome. Creating an album on my computer. This sort of writing, I think, is... I guess I could zoom in a bit. Maybe that's helpful. Not that dissimilar to like dinosaur comics, that kind of overly elucidated, overly articulated, very precise language. I'm trying to determine that, and you're breaking my concentration. This monster, I said, Nate, I got a USB adapter from my PlayStation controller, so you can smear around like this. See, this feeling of like weirdness, where it's like, why would someone do that? But it's not that absurd. Like it's quite reasonable that someone would just code this for some reason. What happens? That's all. And this, oh no, I crashed this face, I think is quite iconic. I haven't thought about this strip in quite a long time, but I honestly, all of these are so familiar to me. This is where the strip starts getting a little crazier. Meanwhile, in the future, people are just as unhappy as before. Now, I'm not sure if this is supposed to be one of the characters we've already been introduced to, but here we see him in the future. There's this robot vacuum going around. He still has a GameCube plugged in because, you know, Melee. The goat now and forever. They're finding the distant landscape. Runtime error 41. Just this mixture of genuinely sincere, poetic type writing, trying to genuinely evoke to the best of their ability what it would be like to have a robot recall a childhood memory for you and the pleasantness of it. And then, of course, this dystopian reality interjecting. Runtime error 47. Antidepressant medication allowed me to cry, I would. Can even sweat thanks to the space-age polymer. You need a girlfriend and ruin all the free time I have for expression of you. So I feel like in the early 2000s, there was a lot of art basically made by like art school students who were kind of trapped in this ennui of being at art school and needing to make art, but perpetually procrastinating on that art and coming to like these bizarre first world existential crises. Like a lot of the humor in this strip reminds me a lot of the humor on Anticon records. Anticon, he has like Y and Dose One and Fog and all these like alternative rappers that are kind of like almost I don't know, art school nerdcore or whatever you want to call it, that made these really beautiful abstract albums incorporating all sorts of very interesting production techniques and genre mashups and stuff. Kind of like a musical equivalent of something masterfully painted like this. But then a lot of their lyrics were just kind of complaining self-indulgently and tongue-in-cheek about the process of making art itself. And I see the same kind of self-aware, self-critical examination here. Deep within my signature, you'll find my antimatter power core. It is made of anti-gold. I love anti-gold. It will enable you to travel back in time to correct all your mistakes. This kind of irreverence and stuff. It's just beautiful. This is beautiful. And here we see the established characters again, but it becomes less and less necessary. For some reason, the next button disappeared. But we can hack it. Go to 5. Cool green flame I invented. See, this is where it starts getting like, I don't know, just so. It just goes further and further in these sort of outrageous directions. These just totally absurd plots that are kind of just like dreams. I feel like they're just dreams. There's actually, oh, what's that called? Slow Wave? Yeah. This, I think, was actually based on dreams. Collective Dream Dialer authored, yeah. People would submit their dreams. I think that's really cool. Is this still running? I don't know. Ceased illustrating strips switched to fictional continuity soon after the strip ended. I see. Anyways, these often remind me of dreams too. The sort of logic of sort of burning things to ashes, it burns them to reptiles. And this cute little lamp lizard. How do you change him back? You can't! I think like the paneling decisions and like just the way that they can convey so much tone through color and just kind of have, I don't know, like this sort of like comic strip logic, these like yellow panels providing narration. That all of this has the hallmark of like those like indie horror comics that were popular in like the 80s and stuff, of just kind of macabre stories. I feel like this captures a lot of the same tonality, but with like total irreverence and stuff. I myself, when reaching some feeble age approaching my death, plan to undergo the flames, purifying transubstantiation, and live out my cursed days in the moist places of the earth, a terrifying freak, but immortal. Like, contained in this one panel is such an insane idea. Just have to keep it burning until that awful day. My house. So his house turns into a reptile. This one is so good. Oh man, I forgot about this one. I love it so much. But just like little paneling decisions, like the way they have the phones sitting next to each other like this, the way the text bubbles kind of pop out of the panels and stuff. Gasoline. A monk from Vietnam. You're in a dimension you can only access through self-immolation. The world contains nothing more than 2 oranges resting in a bowl by an open window. Feel free to contemplate them. And now, as expressed in his will, all the porn in Dale's computer will be shown to the mourners. And then the ambiguity of this line. Oh my god, it's so juicy. Is that what the mourners are hearing? Is that what Dale himself is saying? Oh, a masterpiece. Like, how can you even start to talk about something like this? And just the idea that my new boyfriend is made of ethereal flame, and then he goes, I'll show her, and his plan is to just set himself on fire because he's made of ethereal flame. But like, Does he think that he'll be able to live like this? Probably not, because he shouts, "Fuck you, world." So he knows he's gonna die. He just decides to kill himself in a way that's like poetically. Ah, it's what it's so crazy. Don't know why I can't wake up in the morning. Don't know either, Sally. Every morning I come downstairs and your alarm is blaring except for some unrealistic time. There you are on the couch, the picture of slumber. I don't know why it wakes you up, but not me. Maybe you're dreaming something really important. Just look at this. Just the panel of the TV kind of segueing from this literal depiction of reality into the imagination space of recalling the morning, the red highlight of the clock radio, so contrasted with everything else. It's tough to offer commentary on this because it's like it's not so much that it means something, but it functions on some level. But trying to break down like how it functions is almost like spoiling the joke or whatever. Like it's like trying to see the emperor with no clothes. Whereas I just vastly prefer taking in the whole of it without even necessarily recognizing all the small details that make it such a immersive read. I just love it. Waking up the reactor and this cast of characters all warning her to to shut down the reactor. They're almost like dream archetypes. There's like a coach. Maybe people have haunted. They're haunted by dreams of old coaches they have had. This person looks like Bach, like Johann Sebastian Bach. Feels like I don't know. Like it's just one of those figures that some people kind of get stuck in their dreams. This could be a teacher, mother, father, deadbeat dad, but all of them. You must shut down the reactor. It's powered by secrets. The reactor. Ooh, this one is nice too. Low G man. Just the way that they jump out of the panels and stuff. Such dynamic paneling. Back to the moon, so it pulls me up. Is this an old video game? Some of it, I can't remember. Watch it, ninjas. So these are the two illustrators, right? Like this is David and Dale. So it's like one of them is like trying to figure out, is this just an old video game you remember that you decided to illustrate? But then they put it into the comic. My moon rock. My psychiatrist. It wasn't the rock, it was you the whole time. This was a good session. I remember this strip making an impact on me because at the time I didn't see anyone for my mental health or anything like that. So my perception of what mental health was like is just kind of stitched together through like, you know, TV shows and movies and all these different like media that depict it. Very common theme. So of course you have all the cliches like lying on the couch, you know, the Freudian analysis. What do you think that dream means? But I knew even then that all of that stuff was kind of unrealistic. But I remember thinking that this was the sort of thing that probably they actually said. This was a good session. I knew that this was like a cliche, and even maybe the appearance of the psychiatrist was almost like a kind of a cliche joke. But I don't know. I can remember this, like as a kid, this sticking out to me, thinking, oh, that's probably the sort of thing they say at the end of sessions, just to make the person feel like progress is being made, or to recognize that progress is actually being made. I don't know why I said that so cynically. Oh, this one's good. It hasn't been the same since you reactivated the power paper manipulative. Barrier word insect. They're too tiny. Infinite pyramid instrumental, but where? Just like the depth of lore that they just shove in for no reason. And stuff like, it looks like they're in a post-apocalyptic society and they're just killing time. And it's like, the fact that they're saying, I'm worried about Paul. He hasn't been the same. When it seems like Paul is the one that has like destroyed the world. And they're just living in the aftermath of Paul's destruction, but they're just worried about him. Someone forgot to check the inner Fura's belly in the ruins of Urgor Thur. Scrasma. Oh, it's so good. The combine written in both colors. The way that the cube stands outside of the paneling reminds me of a Shintaro Kago story I saw before where the panels like rotate around. I'm pretty sure that was Shintaro Kago. It was one of those weirdos. It's fantastic. What an amazing webcomic this is, and I feel like barely anyone knows about it. This one has some amazing artwork, doesn't it? Just look at this. Look at how bold drawing like this is, with the color accents. The fact that he's just playing his DS. I'm gonna buy this suitcase full of money on eBay. Finally, it arrives. What should we spend it on? A gun? Not just any gun. This gun's bullets will only pierce the flesh of your true love. What an amazing premise! And then he goes out and just starts shooting people on the street. At least we had this brief instant. And then the way that, like, even though this paneling is so intricate, so beautiful, and like the character sketches are so not so much detailed, but like evocative. And then at the end, to kind of repeat the cyclicness as this final punchline, it goes like super cartoony, super caricature-y. Mwah! Ah, blown away by the quality of this. Again, it's like it's tough to say just how good it is, but like just looking at all these little details, the way the gun stock like kind of goes through these panels, and then it's like clear one has been taken to be purchased. These little panels showing their movement and stuff. This is like very Chris Ware-esque, having like the minutia of movement or a task being completed broken down into tons of tiny little panels, almost like a film strip. But then, you know, Chris Ware would never do something this crazy. No, Chris Ware does crazy stuff too, but not quite like this. This is so good. This is so good. Let's look at number 11. Ooh. These candy drops, they're so sour. They remind me of my bitter memories. Like reflections in a puddle. Through the stir, the images inevitably reform. The cathartic pangs of blue Raz Sour Power snack tack packs are my only defense against the anti-entropy of recollection. What an insane idea! The combination of thinking of the anti-entropy of recollection, which we will avoid going on a half-hour tangent and just say it kind of makes sense. And then, so it's like kind of like sci-fi on the edge of nonsense. Cathartic pangs is like literary aesthetic theory, but on the verge of nonsense. And then we have just straight up like marketing nonsense. Like it's like 3 different kind of categories of intellectual thought are just attacked in like extreme parody. Try some waters of forgetfulness. Distilled from the only animal which has no memory, the fish in the river of oblivion. Careful too much will... Oh, still, only a triangle. Please, among other triangles among this grid. Shades of Oyasumi Pun Pun, perhaps? You wish your memory so much that you remember everything. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. Okay. I hope I've gotten across the quality of these strips. There's not many of them. We could conceivably read all of them, but I don't really feel like I have a whole lot to say about them. It's just kind of like, wow, wow, they really did it, wow. But yeah, I think this is a masterpiece. I think this is one of the most underrated comic strips out there on the internets in terms of webcomics and stuff. Okay, goodbye for now.